And welcome back to one of the fastest growing podcasts on the internet, Unscripted Company, hosted by your two co-hosts, Riley and JK. We're going to start off with something called the water cooler because everyone at their company loves some good water cooler chat. If this is your first time hanging out with us, this is about as scripted as we are going to be. Riley, last night, so you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I'll let you disclose if you want to disclose where that is. But one thing I did see in the news, and I was semi-concerned, was that there was a huge tornadoes. I know of at least one. I don't know if there's multiple that basically ravished far north Texas, like just like northern Denton County, basically. And it was wild. It took out like a big truck stop. And unfortunately, it was like declared as a what was like an emergency. No, there was a term that Governor Abbott declared it. It was like a mass casualty event or something. But you were closer than I were. What do you got?
Yeah, so pretty much, I mean, as far, I don't care if people know, but yeah, I live in Denton County, Texas, and the tornado pretty much happened probably like 15 minutes from where we're at, give or take. It was like 15 minutes down the highway. We knew we were going to have bad weather, but Dana, my wife, heard the sirens, and I was like, we're not supposed to have like really any bad weather. Like, I mean, maybe just some thunderstorms. Like, we weren't even in the bad part of it. And I go step outside and I see on the electric bulletin board that we're under tornado warning. And I'm looking at the storm chaser on Facebook and they're live streaming what's going on. And he's showing like the supercell that is showing rotation, but nothing has touched down yet. And so give about 5-10 minutes later, they said that there was an active tornado on the ground. Pretty sure it was only just the one, but it went all the way from west of Sanger all the way past Lake Ray Roberts. And I think it finally ended like right as it got to like Salina and Anna and all that kind of stuff. So it traveled a good distance, pretty much like the entire length of where 380 and 35 all the way down to 380 and 75. So like it traveled a good bit of distance. And I think you're not wrong. So there was a truck stop that collapsed. The last that I heard, there were 7 people that lost their lives. And then there was about 100 to 150 people trapped within that truck stop that, they couldn't get out. And it was unfortunate too, because the people that passed, like, I think the first few people that actually passed away or that were pronounced dead, they went to a gas station, like one of those like larger ones on the side of the highway. As soon as they got inside, the roof collapsed on all of them, and they all, so it's like they went to go get shelter, and unfortunately, well, it didn't end how they wanted it to. And we woke up this morning and we saw photos and videos and stuff like that, and it did some pretty substantial damage. There were a couple of kids that lost their lives also.
I did not know that. That is terrible.
Yeah, one of our church members, not going to say her name or anything, but she woke up this morning and there was someone across the street that was holding a child that had unfortunately lost their life in the storm last night. So it definitely was not a fun time. Our Dana's brother and girlfriend were like 5 minutes like away from the path of the tornado. Like they got lucky and it didn't hit them, thankfully, thank God. And so it was definitely an event that like in North Texas we have not seen in a long time. Like and you know this too because you used to live in this area, but it's like,
do you remember last week on this podcast we were literally talking about tornadoes and when the last time they hit different parts of Texas? Our thumbnail even had a tornado image in it.
Yeah.
So,
but the weather machines are really trying to take us out now. They know what we're up to. They're like, oh, we got to take them out now. It's and well, you missed by about 15 minutes. We'll see what happens next week.
It was a warning shot.
I guess so. But that's just wild though, because it really is though. Like we didn't expect it, like we're just thinking, okay, tornado warning, like it's North Texas. Like, I mean, for Houston got a tornado last week. I mean, for God's sakes, like we didn't think we were going to get anything. And And as far as like Texas goes, I mean, there are more tornadoes that have been happening most recently out in like Wise County, Wichita Falls, like closer to the Panhandle than there is here. And all of a sudden, they're just like, okay, you're gonna talk, you're gonna talk some stuff, and then the next thing you know, we have one, and they didn't classify. We don't know what it was classified as. I'm speculating like an EF2 or EF3, but apparently on the rotation gauge that they have, I think the highest is a 30, but this was at a 22. So, but it didn't actually come up and say like what the EF rating was.
There's already a Wikipedia page dedicated for this event.
Is there really?
Yeah, but it's because apparently this, maybe not a supercell, this weather pattern impacted everywhere from Texas all the way up to like, it looks like maybe southern Illinois, western Illinois.
Oh, yeah, no, that same storm kept going.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see. Where's the part that hit Texas? I mean, I could just go to a local news story and see what happened. I also saw there was huge hail. Like it said baseball to basketball sized hail.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. I saw some guy post a video on X or Twitter of what looked to be maybe like softball sized hail. And I was just like, man, there's no way you can protect a vehicle from that without having like a very hard, intense covering, other than a garage, of course.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah, so there are over 100 people who are injured. The two children that lost their lives were ages 2 and 5. I didn't know that until I just read that. But
yeah, I just saw that in the headline. Yeah, it hit wind speeds of 135 miles per hour. I guess it was rated a higher end EF2, but still, it did some damage.
Yeah. And we didn't even have pictures of the tornado until I didn't see any pictures until the next morning, I think, when I woke up, and like someone was actually able to get a snapshot of the tornado, and it was, like I said, it was pretty intense. Like, let me see if I can pull up a path map real quick to kind of just show. They may not have one yet, but...
And while you pull that up, I feel like it's been a hot second. We kind of talked about this last week, so shout out if you haven't gone and listened or watched that episode. You can go find it wherever you found this one. But we haven't really seen that many tornadoes in a while, I feel. Like outside of the ones that are just like really out in the middle of nowhere. Like those happen all the time just because how nature works. But I remember you texted me maybe about a week ago now about one that hit Temple, Texas, which is where I recently just got married at. Thankfully, I live far enough away to not be concerned with the tornado there, but they had one. Y'all had one up there. Houston had one. I know there's been a few others that have been around Texas, like northwest kind of panhandle area.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, you hear about them all the time in Oklahoma. Now you're seeing them in like Missouri, Kansas, Kentucky, I don't know, Louisiana, I guess. We talked about how Tornado Alley might be shifting east a little bit. But
I actually read some articles on that, and there are actually meteorologists who are actually confirming that. And it was also interesting too because Temple also, I don't know if they had another tornado, but they had another supercell as of Friday, I think, or something like that. Like it was like another one that was coming through, and I was like, oh god, like I hope leave these people alone, like they've had enough. But yeah, so far this year, the number of tornadoes has hit over 800 so far this year. And they're expecting a record-breaking year, and we're not even done yet. We still have June and part of July, I'm pretty sure, for tornado season. But, yeah, Tornado Alley is actually shifting, though. Like, the meteorologists have actually shown, like, there's, like, a shift that it's gone from where it's at to now you're getting your more east central states, like Louisiana, Alabama, Missouri, which Missouri's always gotten them, but, like, even Mississippi's getting them, like, Iowa, Illinois, states like that. But just to kind of show people, it doesn't show like an actual path, but this is kind of where the storm started. So the storm initially started over in Wise County, or not Wise County. That's not Wise County. I don't know what county that is. That's up there, but essentially it shifts into, like you said, northern Denton County into Cook County, and then it goes all the way to Salina, and I think right before it hits Anna, it actually stops. So that entire path all the way across Lake Ray Roberts and going pretty much traverse 3 different counties for that tornado. So it was pretty intense. I mean, it's sad for the people who did lose their lives, and I hope that everyone. I hope so far from what we've seen, people have actually, there have been people going out there helping, relief efforts, things like that. But it was definitely something that was not expected to happen. Because again,
and they happen so quick too. Like that's the thing is like from the time the meteorologist can even say like, hey, like it's happening, like it's already too late if you're just now hearing that. Basically, and the thing I don't think a lot of people realize is, in Texas, because of the way the soil is and the bedrock or lack thereof sometimes, like we don't have basements. Like some people do have storm shelters, but they're very few and far between. And usually they're out on a big plot of land or they have a good deal of money, which is why they have one. So whenever a tornado comes through, there's no basement to hide in. It's, especially if you're on the highway, like naturally you'd think, oh yeah, let's go in a building, like a truck stop. And you'd think that would withstand it, but crazy things happen.
And it was funny enough. I don't want to say funny enough, but one of my friends posted on Facebook this morning. And did you know that Sanger does not have tornado sirens? The city of Sanger does not have tornado sirens.
This is one thing I actually learned about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago. The majority of cities in Texas don't have tornado sirens. It's like a rarity to have them. I got so used to them because, like growing up, I never thought about it, but I grew up in a suburb out of Austin. We didn't have any at the time. But then when I went up to University of North Texas in Denton, where you're at now, I got so used to the university. There's 2 universities there, and they each have tornado sirens, and so the city has them. I got so used to them, and then when I moved back, I was reading in the news how there's a small town, or I guess a suburb outside of Austin, Manor, which is exploring the idea. Maybe they already got them, I forgot, but the news story was talking about how the town wanted to spend money to get some, and how they would be the first city in central Texas to have them. And there's no other city out here that has them, at least to my knowledge. Now, I think there's a few pockets where there might be like one, like around like a fire station, or I know at like high school football stadiums, they'll have them for like severe weather, but cities don't have them like all throughout the city to where everyone can know. So that kind of blew my mind at first. So I was like, oh, that's a nice convenience to have if you're not truly paying attention, to know, oh, hey, it's scary outside. Although I don't know if you ever experienced this, but one of my favorite memories when I first moved up to Denton was experiencing or seeing people who did not know that they tested the siren on like the first Wednesday of every month or whatever that was. And so it'd be all bright and sunny outside, and then hear the sirens going, and people were like, oh, what's happening? Like, is the world ending? But
again, it's definitely a very unfortunate circumstance. I'm glad more people didn't get hurt. But there were a lot of people who lost their houses, and it's just a very unfortunate event that, again, we didn't expect to happen. And it could have been a lot worse. Like at any point second, I'm pretty sure that storm or that tornado like could have changed direction, and it could have came here. But thankfully, it didn't, or things probably would have been a lot worse. But yeah.
In a slightly humorous pivot that's also cynical at the same time, there was a study, I don't know if you saw it on social media this week, that came out. I don't know if it was published by or is published on behalf of the University of New Mexico, or at least there was a research scientist there, and they're finding that there is microplastics in all of our balls, like just flat out. So the whole problem with microplastics, how like it's like micro-sized little pieces of plastic. We find it because of our food containers. It's in the water supply. Apparently it's everywhere. They have been doing this study, and I can read the article if you get curious, but they've been doing this study on like human cadavers. So, whenever you pass away, you have the option to donate your body to science. So they were using some of those cadavers and then also testing on canines that were euthanized or being put down. And they found basically in every single cadaver, in every single mammal that they tested, there were microplastics in their testicles, like 100%. So the study is basically concluding that every male mammal has got microplastics in there, and it is impacting sperm counts. Like, it is a confirmed thing. You cannot escape microplastics. You got plastic inside you right now. So there's your fun fact for the week.
How, though?
Because they really are that tiny. So microplastics are so small, you're consuming them on a daily basis without even realizing it. Like, it can be as simple as, like, it's in the water. It's in that ham sandwich that you put in a plastic container. It's like, just think about how much plastic we have in existence. Like super tiny particle sized pieces of plastic can break off of that, whether it be through like abrasion or it breaks, things like that. And it just gets into things.
Well, I don't plan on having kids anyway, so I guess it's nothing to really worry about. So I guess I'm good at that point then, I guess. But yeah, no, like that's actually insane. I mean, I knew about the whole microplastics things because I've talked with people about that, and they said, like, you know, if you have like leftovers, don't put them in plastic bowls, put them in glass bowls, because when you reheat it in the microwave, that plastic, part of that plastic, the main layer surface will kind of start eroding away, and it'll get into your food and stuff like that. So instead, use glass bowls. So we've been trying to transition to we use all glass bowls to store all of our excess leftovers and stuff like that. Like, we don't use plastic or anything. So
yeah, I went through that moment as well. I was like, oh, because I was using plastic for everything. I'm like, huh. And then Abby's really good about using glass things or like cheap plastic. And I'm like, huh, should really rethink this of the longevity of just, you know, it's weird. I think we're going to look at plastic maybe 40, 50 years from now, the same way that we look at people 50 years ago with cigarettes. We're going to be like, whoa, like, you didn't know this? Like, we know, like, people know cigarettes are bad. People still going to smoke cigarettes. That is what it is. Like, it's not like they shouldn't be demonized for it, but I think we're going to look at plastic the same way at some point. We're going to be like, yo, you use plastic containers, but everyone's still going to do it.
yeah,
And it's like, you're going to know, like, oh yeah, this is why little Jimmy, the little kid you had, or lack thereof, like, I don't know. But it's, they were looking at the types of plastic that they were finding, and the most common one they were finding was, or one of them, sorry, was a polyvinyl chloride, which is what PVC pipe is made out of. But also, think about this. Now, look, for anyone listening or watching, hi, first of all, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm reading an article that's in NPR. It's an article that you can find it in the New York Post. You can find it on any partisan website you want. It's a bipartisan scientific topic. But here's what I'm wondering. If they're finding PVC plastic, microplastics in our water, like in our bodies, regardless of if it's in our testicles or in our stomachs, doesn't matter. Is that because our water supply systems are using PVC plastic? Like, we've gone from using copper pipes to PVC in all of our new build housing. Like, I'm sure you've seen this as a realtor. Like, we're using plastic, like indoor plumbing, which I get it. It's cheaper. I think it's less likely to break during like a freeze because it expands because it's plastic, and I don't know, copper could snap more easily. I don't know. But is that why? Is it because like we're pumping all of our water through PVC in the house?
I mean, that makes sense because it's just like you said, like, they try to find more energy efficient ways. They try to find cheaper ways of doing things. And realistically, like, you know, the shower, like when you take a shower, like it's coming through plastic piping, like all this other kind of stuff. Like it doesn't matter what you use. And like a lot of homes also used to use cast iron for their piping. They don't use that anymore because they were like, oh, like you can get poisoning from that. But it's like, well, now you have microplastics in your body. So it's like,
how do you want to be killed?
We're all becoming a part of the Kardashian family because we're all becoming plastic.
Dude, it's wild though, because like in anyone listening that wants to look into this, just Google microplastics testicles. I don't know. You can go in incognito mode if you don't want testicles to be in your Google search history. But it's a real thing. It's a real study that got published earlier this week on, it was like May 22nd is when all the articles started coming out. But it was Dr. John Yu who's a toxicologist in the College of Nursing at the University of New Mexico, he was the lead author of the study.
Yeah.
And basically his direct quote was, "Microplastics are everywhere. The quantification of those microplastics in humans is the first step to understanding its potential adverse effects."
If that's the case, then so it's like as a country or as a world, then where do we go from here? Like what?
That's a
What
good
other
question.
material could we use? Because plastic is cyclable, first of all. So if you don't recycle your plastic bottles and any of your other plastic, you're part of the problem. And that's why our planet is, on the brink of, certain life is just fading away because our trash just gets thrown into the ocean, into the environment. Recycle your plastics, people, because that stuff can be reused. But at the same time, it's also invading your body and probably slowly killing each and every one of us. Not to sound morbid, but that's probably what's happening. But there's no other material in the world, though, to my knowledge, I'm not a scientist at all, that we could use besides glass, realistically. Like, just make everything glass, like, get rid of plastics. But that also, too, defies the purpose because, realistically, you could, actually, because, so think about this. Like, remember how, milk used to be delivered to your door in glass bottles, and then you put your old glass bottles out there, and then they would take the old glass ones, clean them, disinfect them, reuse them again. Why can't we still do that? Like, why can't we just, use your glass bottles? Okay, cool. You take them back to the, grocery store or whatever, you give them to the people, or you set them somewhere, and then they just take them and they recycle them and use them again.
And for those that are concerned with how the economy's doing and you want more job opportunities, this is a job creator because someone's got to deliver your milk, right? But you're spot on. Like, that was basically what happened in the late 19th, early 20th century? Was You'd have the milkman. You'd have people that would, I'm pretty even sure, think about soda. They still make soda bottles, but every soda used to come in a glass bottle. I know this now is nostalgia, but it's almost like we have to revert back to how things were in a certain sense. Because also during that time period, you had copper and iron pipes. So, it's like, you trade the plastic for the glass, but then you still got the plastic pipes, but you don't want to go back to lead pipes.
It's definitely a double-edged sword, but it's like, I feel like at this point, though, it would be pointless to even try to switch because we're already too far gone in the plastic realm. It's just, currently right now, it's like I'm drinking, sparkling water out of a, plastic bottle, at the end of the day, what do you got to do, So it's like everything that we have comes in some sort of plastic that technically can't be recycled, that could be reused, but again, it deteriorates over time, and it depends on what you want to use it for after that, so.
Yeah. So long story short, we're all going to die. It just depends how and when, but it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. Well, at least at some point too, maybe they won't have, I don't actually, wait, I was going to say a joke about embalming fluid and plastic, and then I couldn't make the joke match in my head, but I already started talking. So let's pretend I didn't say anything there. That's fine. This is live, kind of uncut, uncensored. I know you wanted to say something. You had two topics you want to go over. Did you prefer which one you wanted to bring up first?
Honestly, no, but we're just going to go ahead and probably dive into one that is, it's only been talked about very, very scarcely, but I had someone bring it up to me, though. This is the first, as far as since COVID, since 2020, anyone, you have to think about it. College graduates graduating 4 years after COVID started. Meaning you had kids that started they got out of high school, thankfully missed the mark on when COVID started and everything like that, but then started taking college classes, and then COVID hit, and now all those college graduates are now graduating. And there was an article that came out. He didn't send it to me. I should have asked him to, but there was a study that was going on about employers not wanting to hire college graduates, or if it was a bad idea to hire college graduates as being the first set of bachelor degree earned college graduates since 2020. Unless you got your degree way, way faster. But there was this an article that was written about that. This kind of goes back to a previous argument that I don't really want to say previous argument necessarily, but a conversation that we had where, you know, COVID really affected a lot of people. You know, it hit a lot of people hard. I mean, everyone, realistically, the entire world, which I don't think on a global scale like this, we've never had anything like this happen. And when you had a lot of high school students, middle school students that were primarily Zoom and not in person, and let's be honest, like when you get on that Zoom call, you expect those kids to be sitting there actually learning some stuff. No, they're not. They got their phones, they got everything else. Like they're getting distracted because they're at home. Like they probably miss class some days. Like I don't know, just a lot of things were probably going on there. So it's like when you look at a generation and you look at a certain age class of people, how does that shape up where our country is going to be in the next 20 to 40 years, give or take?
It's funny you bring that up because I forgot I read an article earlier this week, very in line with this topic. And I'll just read the headline. It says, up to half of UCLA med students are failing basic medical competency tests. So for those who don't know, UCLA, University of California, Los Angeles, is one of the top like public medical schools. There's definitely better ones, but like in terms of like public schools, they're up there as a state school. Basically half of their graduating class from their medical school is failing like basic medical competency questions. So going back to what you mentioned is like, it's crazy to think about someone who would have graduated high school 2019, 2020, and just now graduating college. Like they've had such a unique experience. Probably most of their undergrad was remote or in like a super hybrid format. And then really they only had probably 1, if maybe 2 years of quote unquote normal college. But then get this, think about this. If they would have graduated this year, if they went to one of these, I don't want to say Ivy Leagues, but a school of upper class, they probably also had some protests going on their campus recently that may or may not have impacted their graduation as well. So it's like they've had such a weird experience over the last 4 years. And depending on when they graduated high school, they may not have even had an in-person graduation because of COVID. So they may have like had a virtual or non-existent graduation, went virtual for like 3/4 of their college experience. And now it's like, go off into the real world, little duckling, and figure it out.
All right.
I'm just thinking about like my own experience. I go back and forth on if I even think college is worth it. I think it is in some circumstances, but one of the big arguments about universities is they don't prepare you for the real world that well. Like, yeah, you can be book smart, but it's like you don't come out of there like ready to truly work in most professions. Like some, yes, absolutely. Some schools do a great job. I think it depends on who your teachers were, what your degree path was, how determined and driven you were. There's a lot of variables that go into what I just said. But if the argument historically is that colleges don't prepare you, and then you throw the whole COVID scenario on top of it where you're like hyper remote the whole time, what is the real world to even prepare for at that point?
And I mean, yeah, you pretty much hit it. And this could actually definitely segue into a different topic, essentially. But it's like, is school really there to teach you about the real world, or is it there to teach you how to just go somewhere for 8 hours? You get an hour lunch break, and then you go home at the end of the day, and you have to wake up at 8 a.m. and do it all over again. What does that sound like to you?
Well, it's funny you say that. One of the courses I took at university was like a educational pedagogy course, which I ended up writing a paper for that class, discussing similar topics, or like a theory of what you're mentioning of how to be a good student in school doesn't mean you're really smart or good at the subject matters. What you're good at doing is following the regimented program put in front of you. And I don't think a lot of people know this, but it is kind of already known that the modern version of public education was set up by the Rockefeller Foundation to mimic factory work. Like it's meant to mirror having an 8 to 5, a 9 to 5, whatever that span of time is, you wake up, the factory bell rings, you go to the factory, you work an hour, you get that 15-minute or 10-minute passing period break, and you go back to work, and then you have your scheduled lunch hour, and it's to get you trained for a certain dogma of society.
Now, I guess before we probably headed to like maybe whatever else we have lined up, as far as your college experience, if you had the opportunity to start it all over and go back to college again, would you do so? Knowing where you are now.
Knowing where I am now, no, because I like where I am. Honestly, I wouldn't trade it for anything. But if I had the opportunity to go back, I would definitely change like majors and like the educational pathway there. But that's like hindsight 2020. That's only knowing what I know now. If you were to put me back there without knowing what I now know, I would want to do that over again just because I like the outcome of it all. But I think I wish I would have used more resources at the time, I think. And I don't know, I think they don't do a good job at preparing you or showing you how to use those resources. But I think a lot of that is of our generation just wasn't ready for the real world being like adulting per se.
No, it was not. And, I mean, having parents that could teach you, your basic skills, like money management, things like that, realistically should be things that schools should be teaching us how to do. Like they should be teaching us how to manage money. They should be teaching us how to, grow our investments and income and things like that, not just to work a, dead end 40-hour-a-week job where there's not going to be anything other to life than that. That's, I think it takes, a special kind of people to really, break out of that or to understand that that's what you're doing and to make that switch to like not let that be the case essentially.
Yeah.
And so it's, I think school systems are way out of touch, and I think how they're still doing it is way out of touch. And I'm not saying like, try to do like the, again, COVID approach kind of thing, but I think it would be beneficial for people they need to offer more classes that actually teach you real life skills, not just your basic English, math, science, and history. 'Cause I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't need to know anything about the history of what happened, because if I'm being honest with you, they're already changing history books and trying to write stuff out of history as we speak. So I'm like, I don't need to know anything about history because I haven't used anything with history. As far as science, I don't need the periodic table of elements to help me with real estate or anything like that. Like I didn't need all that. Maybe your basic math and English, sure. You need to learn how to read and write. You need to learn how to do math. Cool. Other than that, like there's no reason for geometry. There's no reason for high intense algebraic equations and linear functions. Like you need to know all that. Like if you need to know it, then you can go to school for it. And to kind of wrap up this specific topic, but I think that when it comes to college, you should not be required to take the same classes that you took in high school for your basics. You should only be required to take classes that actually cater to your major, meaning that a bachelor's degree, in theory, should only take you 2 to 3 years instead of 4 years, whereas 2 of those years are being taken up by taking your basic classes all over again. You should not have to do that.
Ooh, we got a hot take from Riley here. No, that makes sense, because it really is kind of like, it's a waste of time and money if you think about it, especially if, like, I'm conflicted because they are good skills to learn, like just the basics of that. But at the same time, if it truly doesn't apply to what you're pursuing professionally, like it really is a waste of money. But at the end of the day, universities are businesses. They're giant businesses, some of them. Because if you look at the endowments of some of these universities, they're in the tens of billions with a B of dollars, and they're continually growing. Like if you look at statistics like Princeton University, the amount of returns and the dividends they yield from their endowment investments more than pays for all of the tuition of all of their students, meaning that Princeton, if they just stop charging their students and just use the money that they had in the dividends returned from their investments, they could continue running a net profit still. and still pay for all of their students to go for free. So for them to charge what they charge, and knowing that, not every university has an endowment that large, but a good chunk of them do. And then you also have smaller universities that are trying to play catch up with some of the bigger ones, so they do charge more trying to catch up. But it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. This is a good opportunity. Hey, if you're listening right now, let us know. Did you even go to university, first of all? Let us know. Quick yes or no. But if you did, would you change anything about it? Hindsight 2020, would you go back and not go? Would you change where you went? Would you change what your major was? Let us know. And also, good point to call out right now is, if you are listening, one thing you can do to help this podcast, first and foremost, give it a thumbs up, give it a like, give it a follow, a subscribe, save it, whatever medium or platform you're consuming this on right now. Do the things you know how to do. I'm assuming you're a smart cookie. You probably are if you're listening to us. You're probably becoming dumber because you're listening to us. I don't know. It is what it is. But you know what it is. Whatever platform you're on, Spotify, Rumble, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts, do the things that the algorithm wants you to do to help us grow. In other news, one interesting thing that also came out this week, I don't know if you saw it. Do you know who Morgan Spurlock is or was?
The name sounds familiar.
Did you ever watch the documentary Super Size Me?
Yes. Yes. I knew that. Dana brought that up to me literally like a day ago, and I know where you're going with this, but yes, all fast food bad. But go ahead.
Yeah. So for those listening, Morgan Spurlock, he did a lot in the entertainment industry, or like, I guess, movie production, but probably his most known role was he did a documentary called Super Size Me, where the whole idea was he ate nothing but McDonald's for, I believe, 30 days straight. And he had like legitimate medical examinations that happened before, during, and at the end. He ended up gaining, I think it was like 20-something pounds in the matter of 30 days. Let me see. I actually had some of the details about the documentary. Let me see here. Oh, yeah. The movie made over $22 million on a $65,000 budget. Anyways, long story short, tragically and unfortunately, Morgan Spurlock passed away earlier this week from a bout with cancer. Now, one thing, don't want to disrespect or throw shade on a man who just passed, who a lot of people hold near and dear because he did other stuff in addition to that documentary. I know he had like a TV show, I think, at one point too, but you can't help but wonder if his bout with cancer, which apparently was very private, him and his family kept it very hush-hush until his ultimate passing, was somehow related to eating McDonald's for 30 days straight. Nothing but McDonald's. And this is like OG McDonald's too. McDonald's reputation got heavily hit because of this, because it really showed how gross their food really was at the end of the day. No matter how delicious it may be, it looked gross when you watched a guy eat it for 30 days straight and all the different variations of the same food and what it did to his body, knowing that he was a relatively healthy man going into it. If you look at McDonald's today, they've definitely cleaned up their image a lot. I don't know the health ramifications of McDonald's. I'm sure it's still heavy in calories. I don't think they put sugar on their fries anymore. That was something they used to do, I believe. Still probably a ton of sodium and garbage in the food, but that's true for all fast food. Mm-hmm. I just can't help but wonder if his passing has something to do with the amount of McDonald's that was consumed within such a short period of time. I don't know. But that was also, 20 years ago at this point? No, it released in 2013. No, wait, when did it release? When did Super Size Me come out? Let's see. It was nominated for Best Documentary at the 77th Academy Awards in 2005. So maybe it came out in
2004.
2004. Okay. Yeah, 20 years. Time flies.
Did they say specifically what his cancer was, perhaps?
Let me see here. I don't believe so. Everything I kept reading was his family kept it pretty private. It says Morgan Spurlock, the McCracken documentary filmmaker who chronicled a 30-day period when he ate only McDonald's food in the Oscar-nominated Super Size Me, a project that helped raise awareness about the dangers of poor nutrition, died Thursday in New York from complications of cancer. He was 53. Quote, "It was a sad day as we said goodbye to my brother Morgan," Spurlock's brother Craig said in a statement. Quote, "Morgan gave so much through his art, ideas, and generosity. Today, the world has lost a true creative genius and a special man. I am so proud to have worked together with him." In a professional directing career that spanned more than a decade, Spurlock bit into a wide range of socio-political issues, including the Bush-era War on Terror, in a movie titled Where in the World is Osama bin Laden? Corporate Power, in a movie called The Greatest Movie Ever Sold. I remember that. He made a movie based on that was funded exclusively by advertisements in the movie. Like, it was self-funded, but through advertisements. Okay. He did some other stuff too, but it doesn't specifically say.
I mean, that kind of, like, it does beg the question, though, because it's like, this movie came out in 2004, it's 2024, so, yeah, 20 years ago. How long did he have the cancer for? Because you have to think he was 33 at the time of the movie coming out, 33, 34, give or take, something like that. And was it, how long, for eating McDonald's like that much in that short time period, would that have that effect on somebody? Like, could that happen?
It does say the movie follows Mr. Spurlock and his ever-patient girlfriend through his 30-day odyssey, splicing in interviews with health experts and visits to his increasingly disturbed physician. At the end of the month, he was 25 pounds heavier, depressed, puffy-faced, and experiencing liver dysfunction.
A liver cancer, then.
I don't know. This was also back in 2004. So,
because, like, you have to think, though, it's like, McDonald's is not like, well, let's break this down real quick, okay? Like, when you look at your fast food, like, pyramid, okay? I mean, you have to think, like, there's fast food restaurants that are here that, you know, New York doesn't have, and there's fast food restaurants that New York has that we don't have down here. But it's like, let's just take, like, your main players, okay? You got your Burger King, you got your McDonald's, your Brahms, your
Taco Ding Ding.
Yeah, Taco Bell, Cane's, trying to think of what else. Like a Whataburger, Arby's, In-N-Out.
Technically Subway. Subway's technically the largest fast food
chain. Yeah, technically.
But their bread's not even bread.
Yeah, so. Chick-fil-A, Taco Casa, Taco Cabana, like all those. Let's just but it's like when you actually like weigh them, like as far as like if they're on that pyramid from like the worst to like, let's just say the least worst fast food, like your McDonald's and your Burger King, your Arby's, your Whataburger, like those are all going to, I don't know about Whataburger. Whataburger's probably like mid-tier, but like your bottom tier is going to be like your more so well-known, like you're going to find them everywhere in America. Like Whataburger, you're not going to find on the was it West Coast? You're not going to find Whataburger on the West Coast because they got an In-N-Out over there. You know, I mean, we have an In-N-Out here, but again, with it being fast food, I don't think it's necessarily like the worst fast food that you're going to eat. There's definitely worse fast food places out there. But what blows my mind, though, is like the same people that you see every day that complain about inflation and how like now when you go to McDonald's, you spend like $15 just to get a meal, are the same people who are still going to go through that drive-thru because it's convenient to do. And it's like, if you just meal prep your lunches on like the weekend and get it ready for the next week, you're saving so much money and you're also eating, well, somewhat healthier depending on what you meal prep. But be that as it may, though, it's like there's so much other stuff that people could do that they're just not doing. And it's like, you're allowing these fast, because again, there's no scientific relation to show that him eating all that McDonald's caused the cancer, but there's fast food is just not good for you. Like we typically one fast food place, maybe two different fast food places every so often, and that is usually Chick-fil-A or Cane's. Like those are usually like the two that we'll choose from. I mean, that's just because they're the closest ones and they're the better options than the other ones that we have in our locations.
Yeah, and for the record, McDonald's lawyers, we are not accusing you of causing the death of Mr. Spurlock at all. But please continue, Riley.
No, we're not by any means, because again, yeah, we don't know, and it happened so long ago anyway. It's like there's no way to know what that cause honestly could have been, but it's just not healthy to eat that much McDonald's or really any fast food that much in such short time period, because you have to think, if you ate nothing but McDonald's every day, that means you're eating McDonald's breakfast, McDonald's for lunch, and McDonald's for dinner. And if you just get a little hungry and you find a 24-hour McDonald's, then you get a little late night snack and you try to go get an ice cream when the ice cream machine is broken. So it just really depends.
I think I know what I'm going to title this episode now. I was thinking about it, and I think I'm going to title it something along the lines of fast food, microplastics, and tornadoes are all trying to kill us.
Yes, I love it. But it's just, it blows my mind how fast food places are just still in business the way they are. Here's what blows my mind. Restaurants like Red Lobster are shutting down. I think Olive Gardens are shutting down. Like all these like bigger chain, like sit down restaurants are shutting down because nobody wants to go sit and eat at them. But it's like you're eating the stuff that's going to kill you a lot faster than what they're feeding you in there. So what's the deal? And so I don't understand, I guess. Like I'm not a person that needs fast food. Like I don't need to go get it every single day, or I don't even need it all the time. Like I'm perfectly content with that without having it. So
I think some people, and I'm going to make a bold hot take here, I guess. I think some people just aren't able to comprehend that. They think because it tastes good, they have to have it, or maybe they have fond memories from their childhood of, like, think about it. Like if your parents raised you on fast food, you probably have this weird affinity towards it, and so then you continuously eat it. I mean, just like think about, isn't it like over half the U.S. population is considered obese, and it's like 35 or 40% is morbidly obese? Like it is bananas, and there's a portion of the population that kind of does nothing but eats junk, but they don't realize, or maybe they realize subconsciously, but they don't really realize that they're eating trash consistently. Like, don't get me wrong, I'll eat trash from time to time, but it's not like a daily occurrence. Kind of like what you just mentioned. Like, yeah, you'll go get your Cane's, you'll go get your Whataburger, you have fun with it. You go get some ice cream every now and then, but you're not like getting a burger literally every day of the week. And if you do get a burger, it's not the quadruple, put me in the back of the pickup truck type burger sort of a thing.
Right.
So yeah,
it definitely takes a lot of self-control. It's like, but when you think about the amount of money that you're spending on that stuff every day, like that's enough to get me to quit, spending all that money. Like when I was bartending, and or like, like when I was making like really good money, like there was a time like, say like 2 or 3 times a week, like I was going to get Sonic for lunch, like, and Sonic, I mean, also isn't like the greatest place ever, but like I'd go get Sonic. But now I'm like, I don't need it. But like, I mean, if we're out, like, going out and running errands or doing some shopping and we don't want to cook when we get home or anything like that, like we'll just stop somewhere, just grab something real quick, like Wendy's or something like that. Wendy's isn't too terribly bad, but it's still fast food. So it's like, we'll just get, a small meal for the both of us, and then we're good with that. But it's like 9 times out of 10 though, if we're going to get food from somewhere, like I try not to do fast food. Like we'll go to like Cheddar's, or we'll go just get something to go from like a restaurant, or like Freebird's burrito place. Like we'll go there and we'll get burrito bowls because it's, freshly cut, freshly made protein bowls, things like that. So it's like, that's a lot healthier than getting that, and we'll pay $30 for that. I'd rather pay $30 for that than $20 for, 2 20-piece chicken McNuggets,
Dude, I love Cheddar's. Cheddar's is great.
It is.
I love how cheap their drinks are. It's crazy. You can get like a Long Island or like a margarita there for like $5. I don't understand how they do it. Where any other restaurant you go to, like, yeah, they may have a special for like some house margarita that's like $4.99, but it looks and tastes like a house margarita. Like you see how much ice they put in it. It's a smaller glass. But at Cheddar's, are like, nah, man, $5 and we'll load up this big old bowl for you. And it, like, I'm sure it's got sugar in it, but it really doesn't taste like it has that much sugar.
Yeah.
And also seeing the calorie counts of like their Long Island, I think it was like 210 calories or something, which for a large alcoholic cocktail, not that bad.
Yeah.
And then they give you the bread, and I don't know. I like Cheddar's. It's a good spot.
It's not like Applebee's, unfortunately. And the thing is kind of go back to like the whole restaurants closing down. How is Applebee's still open? But yeah, you're closing down Red Lobster. Like, come on now. Like, what is going on?
I think it's because they're such a large corporation, because isn't it that, and I remember Applebee's is like franchise, so I have to remember that. But I remember that doesn't the parent company of IHOP own Applebee's? Like IHOP is awkwardly the parent company of Applebee's.
I know it's IHOP, and I think Sonic also. I think Sonic also is a part of that. I could be wrong. So like if anyone's listening to this, please let us know. But I think he's actually about to look it up. But either way, it just blows my mind though, because it's like, Applebee's is not what it used to be by any means, and yet they're still open, and they keep running the same crap specials. And yes, I'm crapping on Applebee's. I don't care who from Applebee's corporate comes after me. Bring it on. Like, I got some stories to tell you about how your restaurants are. But how, like, y'all refurbish the same specials over and over and over again, and people need to know, like, they're not really getting hardly any alcohol in those drinks, first of all. And then you're saying the same food menus. Like, y'all had so many good menu items, and then y'all got rid of all of it because you wanted to go the cheap and easy way. And I'm not going to, go into, like, all the secret stuff that I know that happens behind the scenes of some of the Applebee's restaurants I've worked at. I'm not going to do that. But, y'all, there's definitely some work that needs to be done on that. But it's like, come on now, y'all. like how are some Applebee's restaurants still open, but yet you're shutting down other good restaurants?
I did see actually recently they're starting to close down some IHOP restaurants, I think, just in order to keep budgets in line. But I did find, so it's Dine Brands. Dine Brands Global, they own Applebee's, IHOP, and Fuzzy's Taco Shop.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, they've owned a bunch of other places historically, none of which I recognize. Like, they used to own Orange Julius, Love's Wood Pit Barbecue, Golden Cup Coffee Shops, Copper Penny Coffee Shops. They've owned a bunch of stuff, but really their claim to fame appears to be Applebee's, IHOP, and I didn't realize they owned Fuzzy's also.
I didn't either.
Yeah, but as of 2019, oh wait, I need to find post-COVID numbers. But say as of 2019, they're doing $910 million in revenue.
Nah.
Now, what was their operating expenses? I don't know, but
probably not a lot, because they don't pay they don't pay anybody.
Oh, they don't pay anybody nothing.
I got screwed on my deal, that's for sure. But
yeah,
again, we're not going to get into the semantics of that. I don't want to cause any issues there. But yeah, it's just, there's just a lot going on with that. But it is what it is. Like, there's just so many better places to go eat at, like, than just fast food. But it's become so convenient for people because it's fast, it's easy. But it's like, you have to realize, like, all that stuff is just like frozen, sitting in a box somewhere. They throw it under a heater, and that's it. Like, that's all it is. Like, it's not what it should be. It's not what it. Yeah, it's just bad.
I remember I think it was a comedian that had a joke, and I don't remember the joke verbatim, but the whole thing was like, yeah, fast food's so bad. They had to put a window at the back of the store because you didn't want to be seen going into the lobby to order it. So they're like, hey man, you just pull your car around back and we'll drop it into your window through a brown bag and you can just go on your merry way. I forget who said it. I mean, if someone knows, leave it in the comments and I'll credit them next time. But that's basically a good summation of fast food right there.
At least In-N-Out, like, there. Have you been to an In-N-Out?
I have. My sister actually worked at In-N-Out for a period of time. I actually learned they might be the healthiest of the bunch. Like, everything is actually locally sourced. Like, their Texas stores get stuff exclusively from Texas. The California one gets stuff from California or like Idaho, something like that. So I'm not the biggest fan. I think it's kind of bland, but I think it might be bland because it has less fat, maybe.
I don't know. Like, I'm simple when I go to In-N-Out. I mean, I get everything with animal style anyways. Like, I get the additional flavor from the sauce and the, like, all that kind of stuff on there. But they'll actually ask you, like, at the drive-thru, like when you're ordering your stuff, they're like, are you going to eat this in your car or are you going to take it home? Like, they're so chill about it, too, because they're like, if you want to eat it in your car, they'll give it to you. Right? And then like it'll be like I don't know if it's like a disposable tray or you have to take it back in, whatever the case may be. But it's just they're so chill about it, they don't care. But every place else is like, nah, like we don't want to shame you. Here you go. Here's a bag. Take it home. Get out of sight.
They know what you're about. They're like, hey, you're gonna be a little fat picky today. Here you go.
Right. It's your doubles, you know.
Yeah, I get it. It's kind of dope though. I mean, I'm curious what the tray looks like. If they have a problem with people stealing trays, or maybe it's like it really is like a recyclable type tray, something where it's like cardboard, or I don't know.
Now I got the hanker for In-N-Out right now.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Can't fault them. My last thing real quick, and I'll kick it back to you if you want, but I just saw, this is really short. You know Dogecoin? Like the crypto? So you know the dog? Like that, that dog passed away this week also. Like the actual dog.
The dog.
Yeah, real quick, just for those watching, if you don't know what I'm talking about, let me see if, I changed point of view. Let me see if I can get this to work real quick. Share my screen. This little guy. Yeah. Kabosu, the Japanese dog behind the Doge meme and that represented the Doge coin, passed away this past week. So, unfortunate, but reality at the same time. So
yeah, it's such a sad day.
Yeah.
How is Dogecoin doing? I remember I put some money in there and I got a little chunk of change out of it, but not a lot. So I haven't heard about it since.
Let's find out. Let's see where Doge is at right now. Let's see here. Doge is currently at... I noticed I had a couple moments where it popped because of Elon doing Elon things. It's currently around 16, 17 cents. This is May 26th, year of our Lord, 2024. I remember it popped up in 2021 up to about 57 cents. Here, I'll share my screen.
Yeah, because I put like 50, I think I put like $150 in there and I cashed out and made like $1,000.
Yeah. So like, yeah, I mean, like if you're at pre-2020, like it's sitting here at, what was that, 2,000ths of a penny? And now it's 16 cents. I mean, it's not terrible if you bought in way back when. I say way back when, it was like 4 years ago.
Right.
Over the last 5 years, it's had a 5,304% return. Over the last year, 136%.
Yeah, too bad during like 2012 and 2013, like even before then, like too bad I was just in high school and I didn't have the money to invest in Bitcoin.
That's the thing. That's the thing that I always kick myself about, but you also have to like think about what is the next thing. And it's not going to be some meme coin that's not going to go anywhere, and no one's going to really know until it happens, but you have to find that next thing and really have conviction that your investment could pay off in 20 years. Not next year, but like you got to think long term.
You also have to track that stuff too, because like there are people that spend their whole lives just learning how that stuff works and tracks, and I just don't have the time to do that.
Yeah. My hobby of a pastime is I love stocks. I love the stock market. Everything about it. I hate it, but I love following it. I think it's absolute garbage. It's manipulated garbage. But
yeah,
I like it.
Fortunately, it is. You know, it's just how it goes. It's how the rich stay rich and the poor stay poor. And, you know, there's really no middle ground anymore. I don't think the middle class exists anymore. There's been a lot of speculation going around about that the middle class is just phased out. So it's like you're either up here or you're down here. And that's it.
Yep. You got to find your next Bitcoin basically to get you up the ladder. You got to figure out you got to get that fast pass while also not going broke at the same time, because that's also a real fear.
Right.
Yeah. Man. Okay, so this has really been an episode of how humans are going to die. It's microplastics, it's Mother Nature, i.e. tornadoes, fast food, financially kill themselves maybe with Dogecoin, things like that. Was there anything else you want to bring up? I know you had another topic with like abandoned amusement parks, but we can talk about that another time if you want. But we can.
And literally, I mean, considering how our everything went, I don't think. To be fair, amusement parks could technically kill people. I mean, let's talk about the woman that died on the Texas Giant because she was too large to ride it, but they let her on anyways.
Yo, what? Did she like fall out or something?
Yeah, did you not hear about that?
I don't think so. Or I might have, but
let me see.
Yeah. Yeah, let's throw another way to die. This is the new 1,000 Ways to Die podcast.
Let's see.
I did hear about, and this was maybe a decade ago, there was like a guy who, I think he was into Six Flags in Atlanta, but he went to go find his like baseball cap or something and ended up having his head whacked off
Oh yeah,
because someone's foot kicked it on a roller coaster.
So this woman right here. So there's a part on the Texas Giant where after you go over the first initial drop, you're gonna come up like kind of like you're on the side, like
Yeah,
facing sideways.
I've ridden it once before, but it's been a while.
Oh, dude, every time I go now, like I ride that sucker like 5 or 6 times every time I go. Like it's so fun.
What's that headline say? Scroll up just for those listening. It says, "Woman fell 75 feet in Texas Giant death." What year is that? 2019.
2019.
Okay.
So she was, as you can see by the picture, she was not a petite woman. She was a little bit of a large. And you know, when you get on a roller coaster, they always tell you to make sure that you have like 3 to 4 clicks. Like you make sure that like your thing is clicked down as much as it can be. Like sometimes even if it's a little too uncomfortable, just to make sure that you're secure in your seat.
And if I remember correctly, the Texas Giant, that's one where the bar just goes over your lap, right? It's not like over the shoulder, or is it?
No, yeah. So you have the seat belt that you put on, and then you have the bar that comes down and clicks and everything.
Lap bar. Okay.
I myself, I freehand it. So like as soon as I get to that very top, like I'm freehanding it. That's just how I do it. But there were multiple stories about this, but it was like one rendition of it was she didn't tell them that it didn't click all the way, and obviously they went there, they checked everyone, but nothing really came up about it. Like she didn't tell them or disclose that to them. And
wait, hold up. It says this woman fell 75 feet higher than a 7-story building and struck a support metal beam. Her body then came to rest on the metal roof of a tunnel. Holy, no, thank you.
So needless to say, she, as soon as they came around that like upscale turn, she fell out of it because it didn't hold her in place essentially, and so she fell. Like there was nothing but gravity essentially at that point in time. Like she couldn't hold on or anything like that. Like that roller coaster was going. Like there was nothing you could do about it.
Sounds like she made a giant mistake, but it's okay.
But yeah, so you know, again, there's no as Will says right here, there's no federal agency that regulates amusement parks. So usually the state requires, again right here says 2 things. The first includes proof of a certified engineer approves the ride under manufacturer specifications or national standards. The second is that the park has at least $1 million insurance policy per ride against accidents. I'm pretty sure the family tried to sue, but the thing is, like, there were no issues with the ride. Now they did shut it down for a period of time, and they obviously updated it. Like they actually did that with another ride as well. Most recently, the Judge Rory Scream was another ride that they had shut down. Did some updating too, just to make sure that everything was good, but just updating it. Yes, like I don't remember if the family tried to sue them or not. But either way, I mean, the woman knew that she probably couldn't have fit within that roller coaster ride, and she still chose to do it. Now, I know it sucks, like as far as like having those instances where you're like, I just want to ride a roller coaster, and I get it, but it's like, yeah, at the end of the day, you can't blame the amusement park if you yourself couldn't actually ride the ride, and I know that sounds bad, but it's not meant to sound bad, but it's just, in certain cases, it's like if you know that you can't, or like, then just don't. But yeah, the ride opened in 1990 with a wood track, and it was reintroduced in 2022 with a steel track, but then they obviously updated it some more and braced everything and kind of just fixed up on some stuff as well. But yeah, unfortunately, she lost her life, and there was a couple other to Six Flags here at this one where people passed away, unfortunately. But again, you can't always just blame the ride. I mean, don't get me wrong, the rides are, and it should be the duty of the amusement park to update those rides and fix those rides. But you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. So
yeah, I didn't really ever think that Six Flags had that many fatalities under their watch, to be honest. I knew there were a few every now and then, but are you looking up more?
There have been, oh my God, that's a lot more. 62 deaths.
Wait, is that at all Six Flags or just the one in Arlington, Texas?
Let me see.
That's a lot.
Over Texas, 5. The one that's got the most is the Great Adventure, which is 13. And then Magic Mountain and Over Georgia has 7. Yeah, Great America in Texas have 5. America, La Ronde, St. Louis, 4. And then it goes down from there. But so total, so far, there have been 62 reported deaths over the course of Six Flags. Now, 22% of them are employee-related deaths.
Oh.
And 77% of them are visitor deaths. So.
Interesting. So if the Great Adventure has the most, I mean, I guess that adventure really is going into the white light.
I guess so.
Yeah. I wonder if they sell fast passes. Huh.
Wait.
I think that's a good note to end it on, potentially, is yeah, leave a comment down below. Have you died at an amusement park? Let us know. How'd it go?
Oh,
but yeah.
By any means are we not laughing at death. It's just those, like, you know, like dad joke deaths and jokes, unfortunately. But
death by dad joke.
Death by dad joke. It's not by any means a funny topic, but it really actually begs the question, like, you know, like if you've ever seen the show 1,000 Ways to Die, realistically anything can take you out. And, you know, again, back to the beginning, but, you know, with all the families the people that lost their lives last night, you know, I feel sorry for the families. My heart goes out to them. But just with anything else as far as fast food, you're doing it to yourself if you keep eating it. So
exactly. Yeah. No, again, definitely heartfelt about what's going on. We're still even figuring out more details about that too, which is wild. Just showing how tragic it really is. But if you made it to this part of the podcast, first of all, thank you. We appreciate it. We, of course, want to hear your thoughts, your opinions. Do you have any topics you want to hear us stumbling over my words? I was going to say eloquently talk about, but then I stumbled over the word eloquently. So clearly, you know, that's not going to happen if you give us any suggestions, but you can do so by leaving a comment. If you're listening on Spotify, you can actually leave comments on Spotify now. Not a lot of people know that, but you can leave a response there. Give us a like, give us a thumb up, give us a follow, give us a subscribe. All of the verbs and actions and things you can do. Definitely appreciate it. I'm going to let Riley say the last few words and put him on the spot awkwardly. And go.
Yeah, also, too, don't forget to check out our merch. We have our hoodies that have launched. We definitely love your support on that. Helps us get, you know, the name out there, advertising out there and everything. And also, too, gives us the opportunity to, you know, upgrade our podcast and to make sure that we're putting out the best, you know, content that we can for everyone. So please check it out. If you have any suggestions about stuff that you may want to see on our merch shop, like as far as hats, tank tops. I know summertime's coming up, so I know hoodies are kind of not the thing right now. But if there's anything that you want to see, please let us know and do our best to make it happen.
That's a good point. You can go to unscriptedcompany.com, find the merch button icon. You'll see it. Right now it looks like a t-shirt. It may look different in the future. You click on that, it'll take you there. You'll see it. And with that, we'll see y'all in the next one.